Welcome back to CongaMasterclass.com and our rhythmic cell portion of playing Quinto and Guaguanco. We explained in the motive section kind of what the concept was, and now I want to take you through a series of rhythmic cells, which are the word that I came up with to describe just units of time, if you will, that we use to create ideas. After all, within clave, there are just a finite number of subdivisions. If we're basically using either eighth notes or triplets, if we use eighth notes, there's a sum total of 16 eighth notes in clave. You can only subdivide those so many different ways, and it's a finite number. So although we of course want to think about how artistic and creative quinto playing can be, we also want to work logically and carefully to develop skills. And so the first rhythmic cell in my book, the Conga Drummer's Guidebook, is where you play 2 eighth notes and then you let 2 eighth notes go by. And we're going to have a set way, a methodology that we're going to use to practice with and to explore this particular cell, and that methodology will then apply to all the other cells that we're going to work with. So we're going to play 2 eighth notes, we'll let 2 eighth notes go by. So that would mean, for example, something as simple as just going a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and, or since we're in eighth note subdivisions, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3. So we're playing and 1 and then and 2 goes by. So if we put that, for example, against clave, this is simple. It just goes like this. Simple, right? Then, so the first thing is to establish the cell itself. Play 2 eighth notes, let 2 go by. So once you get comfortable with that, and you know you feel like you've got that, then revoice it. Add another note, if you will, another sound to the same idea. Okay? So then you're going to get this. Here's the clave again. Add the note. And then again, because those are 2 sounds against a rhythm that's in 4-beat cycle, if we add 3 sounds, then it's going to cycle against the phrase and sound like this. And I got back to where I started. See, it has to come all the way around. So that's our rhythmic cell. And then what you have to do again, all the way back to what we did at the very beginning of the motive section. Now you have to integrate that cell into the quinto pattern, into the quinto idea. So what you would do is you would like play the quinto part. The next time it comes around, play the cell and see if you can get back to that 3rd note of clave, to your re-entry point, if you will. Let me show you what I mean. Here's my cell. Now, Here's the quinto part. Cell. See how I can revoice it in all these different ways. I'm still just playing the same thing. I go back to the quinto part, play the cell, get back at my third note of clave, and now I've integrated, if you will, the cell into the quinto part and the idea of it. Does that make sense, guys? Now, once you've done that, and remember, we did the lick, lick, lick part all the way back in the form section. So now you're going to, this is the idea, if you will, that you use to do your lick, lick, lick part. Now, I want to say one thing that I think is really important. Sometimes a rhythmic cell is not that interesting. It could actually be boring. After all, is not the most exciting thing in the world. You keep landing on the beat, so it's not very syncopated. But again, like a scale, just because playing a tonic note in the scale isn't that interesting against a chord doesn't mean that you don't include it in the scale. So do the exercises even if at the moment they don't seem that interesting, because they may very well turn into something very interesting. So particularly when you then do this, if the idea is to play 2/8 notes and then let 2/8 notes go by, well, if you displace that, then instead of going a 1, a 3, a 1, a 3, and 1 and 2 and 3, you could go 1 and 2 and 3 and. Maybe slightly more interesting, but what if you displaced it again? The same idea, but now another 8th note over. Now it's going to do what? Got dot, got dot, got dot, got dot,